I know you're listening. You're here because something isn't right. Something feels twisted, upside down. Things don't add up. Hello, human. Welcome to our twisted universe. Today we will be examining the life of author Mieke Benton, who has experienced ET abductions since she was a small child.
Hi, and welcome to our Twisted Universe. Today we're going to be talking to Mieke Benton, and she has been abducted by aliens, and we're going to hear her story. Hi, and welcome, Mieke.
Hi. Hi, Joy and Christy.
Hi. So we're so excited to have you today. You have an incredible story to share with us. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I am born in 1970 in Belgium. And since around age 2.5 that I'm aware of, I had experiences where what they call I was abducted. And I can share with you what I experienced. I myself have way more questions than answers. I want to say that up front. And but this is how it went. So around age 2.5, I remember being taken up into a foreign place, and this is I just remember flashes of those memories. So I remember being taken in a foreign place. I was very small. I was completely naked, laying down on a metal bed in a kind of like a sterile environment. And so the memories I have that I was laying down backwards, looking up, and above me I saw three beings, and I would say they looked like praying mantises, like insects, if I compare it with something that I know here.
Were they wearing clothes?
No, not no. That was they had like triangle faces, big eyes. They had their arms were like stalks, um, with claws, choppy movements we don't do as human beings. So that was very scary for me. I was terrified to the bone. I was paralyzed not only by my own fear, but now I understand they also have ways to paralyze you so you wouldn't move. I could compare them like with doctors or surgeons. They had that mentality, they had that approach. They were doing something on purpose. I mean, with a plan, with a purpose, they were doing things, and they were poking in me with their claws. So they were. I remember the claws as instruments going into my body. I couldn't move again from my own fear and from technology that was paralyzing me. So I was terrified to the bone. And I also do remember there were other beings smaller that were below the table, but because I was laying up, I couldn't move. I was not able to turn my head, that I remember, and looking down, but I could feel and hear all these other beings, smaller ones, moving around around the table.
And did you get a look at them at all, or you didn't see?
No, I only remember being the vision from looking up. That's all I remember. And the beings above me. There were three, and two of them were the main ones, acting and doing things with me. So these flashes I remember during my childhood years, during my teenage years, and then the next thing I remember, I am waking back up. I'm in my bed. I even remember one time I was completely on the other side of the bed that I went to sleep in, so I was turned around completely. And I was back, and I had those flashes, so I knew I was coming from there, and I knew I was back at home. And then, besides the trauma of the experience, what was even more traumatic for me was that I had to come up with a plan what to do next. And I was like, what shall I do? Strategy thinking. And I was very small. So I thought I can scream for my parents to come to my room, that was one option I chose, which I often did when that happened. But sometimes I want to scream and no sound came out too, because I realize now that sometimes I'm not completely entered in my body yet, and I couldn't move my body yet. So my soul was back in, but I wasn't activated yet, which was scary in itself.
Wait. So you're saying you were in your bed?
Yep.
And you still had, like, you were paralyzed in fear, or what was going on?
Well, in that thing, when my soul comes back into my body, I can't move my body yet. So it's like I am aware I'm back, but my body is still paralyzed. And it's like, in the beginning was very freaky. I'm trying to move my head left and right. I couldn't. And then all of a sudden it kicks in. So during the years, as I grew older, I realized if I don't freak out and I stay calm, my body will activate itself again soon. And yeah, so one option was to scream for my parents. Second option was to think very loud, so I distract myself from the experience, like I wouldn't think about it, with my cover over my head. And the third option was to run to my parents' room that was on the other side of the hallway. But often I did not choose that because the hallway was very dark and I experienced beings there many times, ghosts or entities that scared me. And a lot of the times I didn't dare to walk through the hallway. So I chose one of the three. When I got to my parents or they came to me, the trauma was for me that they couldn't understand what happened. They say it's just a dream. It's over now. I knew that was not true. It wasn't a dream. It was totally not a dream. I know the difference between dreams and that experience. And also, they couldn't understand. Of course, they couldn't understand. And I was too small. I couldn't even explain. My dad is very, very trying to figure out, why is she so scared? Why this? Why that? I had at the time a wallpaper with a Little Red Riding Hood, or how do you say that in English?
Little Red Riding Hood.
Yeah, with the wolf.
Yeah.
So he was thinking maybe she's scared from the wolf. So I remember that he asking me, he says, what's happening? Why are you scared? And is it the wolf you're scared of? And I remember thinking, that wolf on that piece of paper on the wall has completely nothing in comparison with those beings that just prodded into me. But I was too small. I could not explain that.
Were you experiencing pain?
Fear, terror. I don't remember any pain, but fear and terror. And the trauma even was greater that my parents that I could not express or be understood or acknowledged for what happened.
I can't even imagine how isolating and terrifying that would be for a child.
Right. So I've been carrying that my whole life till later on when I was older. I was recognized, and when somebody told me, no, this is a happening, this does happen, then I had to we talked to my inner child, that one that was so afraid, saying, okay, we're here now. We acknowledge, yes, this was true, this happened. But my whole life, that part of me has been always on. I'm actually still sometimes on guard, always on guard, because you never know what's going to happen. So that's one of the things that just happens for me.
Did they ever communicate with you?
Well, at that time, when I was smaller, no, that was just the flashes of experiences. I had more ET experiences later where there was more different interactions, but those abduction experiences, I only have the flashes of memory. That's all I recall.
You mentioned a couple of things. that when you would come back from it, your soul would come back into your body. And you also mentioned that you'd seen other entities, ghosts and such, in the hallway. It got me wondering if these creatures that were taking you, if they were like a multi-dimensional type creature, or a different dimension. So you're getting your dimensional self from their frequency is getting transmitted to the, transported someplace, while your physical body stays behind, and they're working on your other dimensional being, your other dimensional body. Uh,
Yeah.
You suspect that might be what was happening, or?
I have no idea. I don't have answers. It does make sense what you're saying. Definitely, I believe we are all multidimensional, and these are multidimensional experiences. Totally. How that works, I have no idea. I don't have the mechanics of it. That I wonder about that too. How does that work? How do they do that? All these questions that are unanswered to me. I do know it happened. I do know it was very real in my experiences. And I'm very curious to learn more about how it all works.
Have you ever considered doing like hypnotherapy with it, or have you done that in the past?
I have like tried 2 times, and there is a part of me that wants to stay in control. My mind so far, I have not been able, like some people say, yes, they went into it. I personally, I think my mind is so afraid to let go of going or giving somebody else the power. I don't know. It hasn't worked for me.
Well, I mean, given all the experiences you've had, I don't doubt that it's a struggle for you to trust, and you're not exactly sure what all is going to open up either.
Right. And and I hear other people's stories of going through hypnosis and things like that. Personally, I don't know if I have to. I don't have like I need, I have many questions, but I trust the unfolding of my life very much. So I have many experience after that. I will share it with one about when they were working on my back, and that was very painful. And what I did about it, I can share that with you.
Sure, that would be. How old were you when this happened?
When that one happened, I was in my mid-20s, 26 or something like that. 26, 27, somewhere like that. I was living by myself in a home in Belgium. And then I was doing alternative healing classes once a week. And those classes is actually one of the ways how Paul and I came together. He from America and I was in Belgium. So I was doing this alternative healing classes. And one night, in the middle of the night, I was laying on my stomach. And at least 2 beings, again, 2 or 3, I'm not sure, definitely 2, they were measuring my back. They were probably telling me telepathically what I was doing, what they were doing. But I knew they were measuring my back in exactly 3 parts. I could feel that. It was exactly the 3 parts that they were measuring off. And then with a needle or something very, very painful, they poked into that one part, and I just to the core of my being, my solar plexus, I just screamed, and then I was like trying to grab, get my balance back, and they were measuring the second part, and again they did that injection, and it was just very painful.
Were you immobilized at the time?
I was laying on my stomach, yeah.
And
I was not able to move. It went very fast. I was just perceiving it, noticing it, feeling it, without being able to do anything at that time. So then they got to the third part, and again the same procedure. And at that time I was like, okay, that's it. And I turned myself around, wanted to turn myself around, and everything was gone. There was nobody there. So then at night, I had that night one of my classes, alternative healing, and my teacher, she's very aware, very open of multidimensional realities and energetics and all that. And I said, hey, Als, I said, I would like to share what happened with me last night. I don't know what who they were, but this is what happened. And I explained like I just explained to you. And she just looks at me and she said, well, she says, do you think, Mieke, they are benevolent or not? And I'm just thinking for a minute, and I'm like, well, they were definitely doing something on purpose. Why they were doing that, I have no idea. But it was for a reason. I mean, they're not going to be for fun. They're going to show up. I mean, I didn't have that sense. I had this sense that, again, they were doctors or they were doing something with a purpose. I said, well, because I experienced that as a purpose, I don't think they were malevolent. I didn't have this feeling that that was done to harm me. And she says, well, she says, I think, they are not in a physical body. They do not know probably what it feels like to have a physical body with feelings and emotions and all that. She says, you should let them know. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. It just made sense to me. It's like, oh, okay, I will do that. It's like a good idea. So I went home. I just sat down like in a couch like I'm sitting here. And I said, hey, guys, whatever you were doing there with me, it was very painful. And you're probably not having a physical body. You probably have no idea what it feels like to be here with these feelings and, the sensitivities of the bodies. I said, if we're working together on whatever we're working together and you want to keep working with me, you will have to find a way to do it, to find a different approach, because if you're going to hurt me one more time, I'm not willing to work with you again. That's what I said. And since then, I have had no painful experiences like that.
Mieke, were they the same beings that took you as a child?
It could be. I would say most likely, but I don't have any proof. I don't have any, but most likely, yes. I personally think now, if I look through my life and all the synchronicities and seeing a UFO in the sky, UFOs in the sky and all the other things, and the abduction experiences and how Paul and I met, the synchronicities, all these things in my life, when I put them together in the puzzle, because I see my life as a puzzle where all these pieces are one piece, and the longer I live, the bigger the picture gets and the more answers. The longer I live, I think it is a lifelong contract I made on a soul level, where I would be part of this, and that they are monitoring, like every few years or something, checking in that we are still in contact, and that there is definitely a purpose for all of this, that this is not beyond my will, and that this is not just some to harm, that there is a purpose in all of this. I believe that.
When was the last time you had an encounter with them?
Well, I believe it's still happening. I do have also, when it happens, I started to learn there is like a sound vibration connected with it. It's like a buzzing in the ears. I start to recognize when it starts to happen. And I would say over my whole life, I would say at least once every 2 years, something like that.
Oh.
More when I was younger. I would say between the age of 2.5 and 11 or 14. 14 divided by 2 is 7. Maybe something like that. Maybe a little bit more when I was younger. But the older I get, I would say once every 2 years or something.
When you were younger, was it always the surgical table type scenario and the poking?
Yep. I do have other recall. But I really don't talk about that one much because I have even less information about that. Being drugged. I remember being drugged, and I think that might have to do with military projects, and I don't have any proof, but I hear that those exist, and I do remember situations where I recall, and no ETs, I don't say these are ETs, these are more like people in projects. And I recall people coming to me and just holding me, and I see the needle, and I know the next thing my consciousness will be gone. I do not relate those immediately to those abduction experiences. But again, I don't have I don't have many answers, but I do remember the experience, and that happened several times in my younger years as well. I don't have them now, but when I was younger.
Do you think that the government and the ET were working together on that?
There must be, yeah, I think so. There must be a relationship. I personally think that the ET in itself, from my experiences, even if it was traumatic, that the true ET purpose is benevolent. That's my feeling. But that there might be programs with reverse technology being used, ET technology, and maybe some ETs captured, I don't know, but that there are military projects that were not that benevolent. That's my personal conclusion from the few experiences that I personally have encountered. But again, more questions than answers.
That's incredible. So how do you think this has changed your life as a whole?
Well, it has made my life not easy.
Right.
I had how do I say that? I had a lot of positive people in my life around me.
Yeah.
So that at least I had that. I had a home, and I did not have much trauma besides those memories of experiences. So the people in my life have been mostly positive. I had a few disrespectful relationships in the past that were not good, that were not benevolent either, but that's part of life. I think we learn through relationships. But overall, the structure of my life has been pretty good. I was born in Belgium. My grandparents and parents, they had a bookstore, went to school. I mean, the normal life thing. Then, I met Paul. That was a very synchronistic event. I'm very thankful we came together. It's since we came together that we realized we both had ET experiences. So we didn't even talk about these things before with people. That's the interesting part. We experienced separately those things, but there was no outlet to talk to, because the narrative was like, oh, you're if you dare even to bring it up, you're nuts. I tried as a kid. I tried a few times to share certain of my experiences, and no, that was not believed. So then you just put it in the back, of your memory. Then Paul and I, through synchronistic events, I mean, that's a story in itself for another episode. But after we got married, things happened. I saw a red ball in the sky in Hood River that freaked me out. And that started the conversation with Paul and I. And then we started realizing, oh, wait, you had that experience, I had that experience. So as we lived together longer, we realized that more and more of our stories came up, and that we both had those experiences. So that was another very thankful thing for me, to have Paul, who's also in experiences, that we can talk to each other about it.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, it's refreshing to meet someone who has a point of reference with you to understand what you're talking about, and so they can kind of wrap their head around it. Whereas somebody who doesn't, you're just making stuff up and telling stories.
Exactly. And it's very important you have people you can talk to. That's one of the reasons why we wrote and write our stuff, our experiences down in a book that's soon going to come out, because the purpose for writing them down is like, hey, we experienced that. We can talk about it. And if other people see that we dare to talk about it, and that we are available to talk about it too, then that opens up other possibilities for other people. They can start sharing theirs. And the conversation can start where it has been silenced for, I would say 1947, since the Roswell thing, there's been an agenda to silence people to talk about it, because it's true, it happened. And there is a reason why they did silence it. And it's time to come out with the truth and share. And
Enough already, right?
We already know.
Yeah.
the truth will set us free. The truth will set everybody free.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mieke, I just want to thank you for coming on and sharing your story. We'll have more details and the description of how you can contact Mieke and get her new book that will be coming out on the shelves very soon. Is that going to go on Amazon as well, Mieke?
It will be on Amazon. The title is My Life is a Mystery. And it's Mieke Benton and Paul Benton. And I think in a month or two it will be out.
Great.
You can also email us at starshowerusa@startmail.com.
Thank you so much, Mieke. It was great talking to you today.
It's very fun reconnecting with you, Joe and Christy. Always fun to meet you. And till we talk again.
Yep. All right. Thank you.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. Come back soon for more great videos on strange and unusual topics: psychics, hauntings, energy healing, UFOs, entities, and other twisted shenanigans. Keep listening for a short clearing prayer.
We welcome all higher dimensional beings, archangels, and spirit guides in love and light. We speak to you from our heart to the Creator being. We are shrouded in light and love and are protected. We release any attachments or agreements that are not in our highest good and greatest good. We ask you to go in peace. The Creator welcomes you. You are healed and forgiven, lifted and enlightened. You are healed and forgiven, lifted and enlightened. You are surrounded with the Creator's light and love, safe to leave and ascend to your highest good. We ask the divine beings to help you move into your perfect place. Go in peace and love.